Hey guys, welcome to Theories with VIRIDIAN. This is Ansleigh Hester, and this is my guest, Sam Cyber. In this podcast, we discuss some of the most mysterious and thought-provoking conspiracy theories of our time. We are no way true conspiracy theorists, but we are intrigued students diving into the unhinged ideas of these theories, from aliens, the flat earth theory, and the moon landing hoax. Thanks, listeners, for tuning in to the third episode of Theories with VIRIDIAN. Before we get started, we would like to give a huge shout out to VIRIDIAN News for sponsoring Silver Sky Designs. More info can be found on our site, viridiannews.org. So this episode, we're going to be doing a part 2 to the JFK assassination. And I have Sam here again to talk about it. We're going to be discussing the Marilyn Monroe and JFK little relationship and the similarities between Lincoln and JFK. So, Sam, what is your opinion about Marilyn Monroe and JFK?
So, obviously, Marilyn Monroe was having the affair, very famous affair, JFK was having the affair with Monroe, sorry. Not only Marilyn Monroe, but most famously Marilyn Monroe. And a lot of people tend to draw connections between the assassination of Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe. Because, the affair, some people believe that there were ties to her in the assassination. Some people believe there was foul play involved when Marilyn Monroe overdosed and died. There's just a lot of controversy over what happened between these two.
Yeah, there was these pictures that I saw. It was I think it was his birthday, and they were together, and it suggested a lot of it confirmed basically that they were having an affair. Yeah. And honestly, whenever I found out about that a long time ago, I really felt bad for his wife. But then I saw this video about how she was paid to be with JFK, and that she didn't even want to actually be with him. And then it was also said that she had affairs too, and it wasn't just him. So it didn't really seem like a happy marriage to me. Anyways.
Yeah, they clearly were not meant to be.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I wanted to discuss was Abraham Lincoln and JFK's, their similarities, from their presidency to their assassinations. So, before I, give the similarities, Sam, do you have anything you want to say?
So, yeah, people like to think about this type of stuff, and they were like, hey, there's a lot of crazy connections you can make between Lincoln and Kennedy. Really odd stuff that it's just too coincidental, almost, how Kennedy was shot while riding in a Lincoln convertible. So a lot of people
ironic.
are it's that's kind of thought-provoking. And there's a lot of other similarities that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah, so before they were even assassinated, Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Isn't that kind of weird? 46.
They were both elected the same year?
Not the same year, 1946, 1846.
the same year, 100 years apart.
Yeah.
That's just, it's crazy how that happened. That's kind of freaky, not gonna lie.
Yeah, and then Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960.
Yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah, and both of their last names contain 7 letters. They're both concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost their children while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday.
Dang.
Both were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary, Kennedy, warned him not to go to the theater. Kennedy's secretary, Lincoln, warned him not to go to Dallas.
That's
actually scary. Yeah. And then they're both assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners. Both successors were named Johnson.
Yeah. And Lincoln was shot in Ford Theater, and Kennedy was shot while riding in a Ford vehicle, a Ford Lincoln
Interesting. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald was born in 1939. This is okay. I feel like this cannot be real. Like, it's so scary.
That's something out of a movie. Like,
yeah,
right there. That is like
something definitely.
That's too much to be just a coincidence.
They were meant to be assassinated. Like, that's just.
Don't do my man. He did not deserve.
I mean, all the things are against him. Like.
Yeah, I love Kennedy, man. That man was the best president we ever had.
Both assassins were known by their 3 names. Both names are comprised of 15 letters. Booth ran from the theater and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater.
That's. This is like, that's too much.
Booth and Oswald were assassinated before their trials.
Yeah, because Booth got shot by some army guy in the cavalry, and then Oswald got shot by
and like both of their political careers were like very similar, and it's just like their lives, like it's like that thing, it's like that type of like soulmates thing where like they're like soulmates and assassinations, like they're just like so intertwined. It's insane. I don't know. And so I kept on reading, and said Lincoln was an Illinois state legislator who, outside of his election to a single term in the U.S. House of Representatives, failed in his every attempt to gain national political office until he was elected president in 1860, including his unsuccessful bid for the Senate in 1854, a unsuccessful bid to become a Republican vice presidential candidate in 1856, and another unsuccessful bid for a Senate seat in 1858. Kennedy, on the other hand, enjoyed an unbroken string of political successes at the national level when he entered the political arena after World War II. And basically, it goes on to say that he was elected like again and again in different houses, U.S. Representatives, Senate. But on the other hand, Lincoln was not. Like, he was definitely not popular at all. I guess, like, that's one of their differences, you know, which is good to see because I'm getting a little too scared.
Kennedy's brother died during World War II.
Yeah.
And Kennedy served in World War II in the Navy. He was captain of PT 109. So he had a strong history of serving America from when he was a young man all the way until he got shot in the back of the head.
Do you remember when Miss Stevens had that picture of John F. Kennedy?
In the Navy?
Yeah.
Yeah, on his boat. Those boats were actually so feared by the Japanese, they were nicknamed the Devil Boats because of how effective they were at targeting the Japanese supply line during World War II. And you know how, obviously, famously, PT 109, the one Kennedy was a captain of, got rammed in half by a Japanese, I think it was a cruiser, and Kennedy had to drag the guy by his teeth to shore to save him. And then there's a whole nother thing. I could go on for hours about that, but he's always been a man of service, so I respect that man greatly, and it's a shame that he got done the way he did.
Yeah, it's insane. It's just they're 100 years apart. They both get elected the same, like not the same years and such, but like it's just, I don't even know. It's insane to me.
Too many coincidences to be coincidental.
Exactly. And I didn't know this until I just like read it. It says JFK and his wife were a rare presidential couple, still young enough to be bearing children after entering the White House. A premature child born to Miss Kennedy in 1963 died 2 days later. And so Edward Lincoln died of tuberculosis in 1850, just before his 4th birthday, and Lincoln's 7-year-old son, Willie, died to typhoid at the end of their first year in the White House. So Willie and the child that was born to Mrs. Kennedy, they both died like around like that mark that I was talking about. So
a lot of people dying.
Exactly.
And then Kennedy's brother got assassinated later in the 60s, so
yeah. Dying left and right. Well, thank you, Sam, for coming on to the podcast.
No problem. Glad to be here.
We would like to thank you for listening to the 3rd episode of Theories with Viridian. Come back next episode where we'll discuss another controversial theory. Remember, just because it's a theory doesn't mean it's not true.